The more hits we play, the more hits we get. URLradio.net, Stacy Sturm.
Michael Kashey.
And we are in the studio today for a very special reason. We have a special guest in the studio today. We have Paul Williams. How's it going today, Paul?
It's good to be here. It's good. It's early in the morning, but I'm happy to be here.
I know.
I've restored my grr and my attitude to become gratitude. I am now a grateful guy, happy to be here. Good morning.
Good morning. We're so happy to have you in Bismarck.
This is about my third trip to Bismarck, very specifically because I am so impressed with a woman up here named Judith Roberts, who started the only at the time. Well, I think it's still the only.
It is,
only sober living in North Dakota.
Uh-huh.
I'm passionate about two things: my recovery and music creators' rights, and so I've been able to come up a couple times and talk to people about Hope Manor and what a great organization it is. Tonight we're doing a concert to benefit Hope Manor.
Yeah, this is great. Now, you were here, was it last year or 2 years ago?
Both, I think. No, I think it was a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
How did you meet Judith? She was kind of telling me
She
about.
came and heard me speak at one of those gatherings of us old drunks, and she went, "Oh my God, he's tiny, but he's a spiritual giant. I've got to get to know this guy." We became really good friends, and she, immediately. What amazed me is the one thing we had in common is we both immediately got passionate about recovery in early sobriety. At like a year sober, I went to UCLA and got my certification as a drug and alcohol counselor. Worked as a volunteer for a lot of years. At about 3 years, Judith just basically, I think, hawked everything, and bought the first house, which became Hope Manor, for sober living for women. Added a second, and now a third for men. Mm-hmm. So we're working on St. Judith.
Yeah, St. Judith.
St. Judith.
She's like,
I'm going to call her.
Stop! No, keep going.
I'm going to call her SJ from now on. Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a new concept for North Dakota at the time, because I know they have sober living houses in California and all over the country.
Yeah.
But we don't know much about that here. We struggle. We tend to just struggle alone, and many fail because of that.
Yeah, and it costs lives. That's what is missing here right now is I think really good medical detox, hospitalization. One of the first things that happened when I came up here the first time was Judith took me over to the Senate, to talk to the Congress, the Senate, the state legislators, and just have an awareness of that alcoholism is a disease. This is not a problem with willpower. This is I'm allergic to alcohol. I break out in bad decisions, as the old saying goes. Exactly. It cost me large pieces of my life and made a lot of money for divorce attorneys. It was but the fact is, I was given a good solid medical treatment to detox safely. It's one of the things that's missing up here right now. If somebody gets thrown in jail to detox, they can die there. They can die there. So, anyway, I'm Paul Williams. I'm a songwriter, once in a while an actor and all. And there's nothing in my life that I have today that isn't directly related to the fact I got sober in 1949. Because if I hadn't, I'd be dead.
You have written songs for so many artists. Three Dog Night. You wrote for Barbra Streisand for her movies. You wrote for Helen Reddy and the Carpenters. How did you get into that? Did you know from a very young age? Because your brother's a songwriter, too.
Yeah, my brother, who passed away, he was a songwriter as well. You know what? For me, it was because I failed at something else. I mean, in my life, again and again, know as a gift, I wanted to be an actor, and I tried to be an actor. I did a couple of movies, and the movie that I thought was going to make a big career for me came out, and I'm basically not in it. It's called The Chase with Marlon Brando, Robert Redford, whatever, And I'm like a kid that sets fire to the junkyard with a bunch of other kids in the end of the picture. I'm in the picture a lot, but with always kind of driving by in the background sort of thing. I think I had 2 lines, and I got so bored on the set, that I started plunking around with a guitar. And when my career fell apart as an actor, I did kind of a self-therapy, self-soothing. Yeah. I started writing songs, and it opened up a door to my life. I wound up, first thing I ever wrote that was recorded was a song called "Fill Your Heart," and I was like, I don't want this. It's going to go to Tiny Tim. I don't want Tiny Tim to record it. Tiny Tim recorded it, And the guy that I wanted to record had heard Tiny's record of it. That was David Bowie. And David Bowie recorded on his Hunky Dory album. So that was the first big recording that I had. First hits was like old-fashioned love song and out in the country, stuff like that with Three Dog Night. And then the Carpenters lit everything up for me with We've Only Just Begun, Rainy Days and Mondays. And it's been a fantastic life. And it was, again, one more time, the bumper sticker phrase is, and I think it's for many of us, no is a gift, I feel like sometimes the big amigo is slamming doors and locking them, so I'll open the right one. Yeah.
You just have to keep opening. You just keep trying knobs until
exactly. No, that one's locked. I guess I'm not going to be a sex object after all,
It's not too late. It's never too late.
Never too late, Well, my latest acting effort is in Baby Driver. Edgar Wright directed Baby Driver, and he asked me if I'd come play a crooked cop gun salesman in it, and also but I won't tell you how my part ends. But don't look for me in the sequel.
Do you have anything you want to ask?
Yeah, I guess my question is more of like you're known or well known for being a songwriter. You've done stuff with people from like all sorts of genres.
Yeah.
My question is, like, I play and try to write.
Don't ever say try to write again. Say I write. Yeah, lose the try to.
It's been like 4 years.
Yeah.
So, how do you write music for like so many different genres? Do you write it with that in mind, or do they kind of see it, pick it up, and then adapt it?
Actually, both ways. When I first started out, I would just go in every day and write songs and find out who was recording. Try to go. Okay, you heard that Helen Reddy was recording. What's going to be in? But basically, if I sit there and try to write for somebody, or at least at that point in my life, and maybe even more today, if I'm trying to write for something, that's eventually where the song comes from is the center of my chest. We all write from our own experience and all. And when I try to write for somebody, or a lot of times I fail. But if I write really honestly about what I feel, many times the people that record the songs will relate to it and all. But so much of my life has been about writing songs for movies. Star is Born, Phantom of the Paradise, Bugsy Malone. Songs like here's another fine mess for the end with Burt Reynolds. And what happens there is you start with a script. I mean, it's great because you go, all right, Muppet Christmas Carol. I know I got to write first song is going to be about Scrooge walking down the road. He comes out of his house, you see his feet. And he walks along and trudging along in the mud. And as he goes by these little characters, they seem to get colder. What am I going to write? What I actually did with that song is I went out and sat down in a meadow, and I'd read the script. I read the original book, and I was reading a Lawrence Block novel. I said, you know what, to the energy, the big amigo, whatever, yeah. When you have, what this needs to be about, let me know when you have an idea. And I started reading this novel. And about 3 pages in, I went, wait a minute. And I went, okay, he's walking, and he comes out the door, and he's walking. When a cold wind blows, it chills you to the bone. But there's nothing in nature that freezes your heart like years of being alone. I went, whoa, that's not bad. You guys are really good and all. And I tell the story usually to other writers, because I think that we're at our best when we get out of the way. You have a collective of life experience. You have a collective of emotions. I mean, and some of the most valuable emotions that is in there for you to write with, you may not consciously be thinking about, but they're there and they're powerful. You must have gotten dumped once or twice. I know I did. Do you ever fall in love with the one who was the one? But I'm nothing without you. And she dumps you. There's a lot of feeling about that, but we are men, so we can jump by that and all, cry when we're alone. But on the street, when does it come out? I sit down to write, and all of a sudden I'm writing what I call codependent anthems. They're just, ouch, mommy songs, because it's all in there, So we write best what we feel, and we write best when we don't try to write like somebody else. On the other side of it is that somebody will come to you, like Daft Punk. Daft Punk, sought me out. So they were doing an album called Random Access Memories, and the first thing that Thomas, one of the two robots of Daft Punk, did was he handed me a book, and he said, I don't know how this is connected to the album, but it is. and it was a book on people that had died and been brought back to life.
Oh my God.
And I went,
great.
I said, I read this before. I read this back in the 80s or whatever. And it's funny because then he played me some music, and I wrote Touch, and I wrote a song called Beyond. I sang Touch. But it will come from some place as oblique as this book is about people that died and came back to life, you know. Is there, what's our connection around that? So a lot of the connect the dots is subliminal or ethereal or spiritual, which is my favorite way to describe it. It's purely spiritual experience.
So you seem like an everything happens for a reason kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a big part of it all, but I'm also a big, our thoughts are things guy. I think that, like, that's why I say, don't say I try to write. You're a writer. You're a writer. You've given that gift. You're already working on it all. Don't let it embarrass you. Let it empower you.
And I know you've had a heartache because you've been dating me.
I was gonna say, can you dump me real quick?
I think I've dumped you like 4 times, haven't I?
No, we're not 16 anymore.
But now, you've been in a ton of movies, too. You were in some of the movies that you wrote for, like the Muppet movie.
Yeah.
And Smokey and the Bandit?
Smokey and the Bandit, it's amazing because we shot Baby Driver back in Atlanta, where we shot the first Smokey and the Bandit. And it was, talk about time travel. And, we're back in, doing what, Baby Driver is sold as a car chase kind of a movie, and it's got the most exciting, adrenaline-filled car, actions I've ever seen in a movie. But there's a lot more there and all. But anywhere I go, especially in the South. I get off an airplane in Nashville, and I'm walking through the airport, and it's, hey, there's little Enos, and
Yeah.
I'm friends with Billy Bob Thornton, and Billy Bob Thornton says that in the South they think of Smokey and the Bandit as a documentary. It's like,
And TV shows. I remember you a lot from, I used to watch game shows all the time when I was a kid, and I loved Hollywood Squares, and I loved, were you on Match Game all the time?
Match Game a lot.
I remember that too.
Yeah, I became better at showing off than showing up. You put down a camera on a couch, I was there. It's just, I loved it. It was great fun. It was kind of like a social life that I never had when I was a run of the litter in high school. I was 4'6" when I got out of high school. Hadn't hit puberty yet. I was really popular, and all of a sudden I'm sitting on Johnny's couch or hanging out with, all this. The great thing about Hollywood Squares is you never knew who was going to be there. It's like, oh my God, that's Gene Simmons, not this guy from Kiss, but the woman from Spartacus in that corner one. And there's George Gobel, there's whatever. It was always exciting. I had a great time in the 70s. Alcohol and cocaine became more important to me and more, than my career. The 80s, I was gone. Yeah. Got sober in 1989. I had my last drink. My sobriety date's March 15th, 1990, over a Valium. Wow. And I think that made I'm having a third act I couldn't have believed. I'm having a pretty good time right now and all. And again, I say it all goes back to getting sober. You cannot imagine if you're an alcoholic and you're listening to this and you're an addict, if you're a heroin addict or a cocaine addict, whatever you're using, whatever the substance is, and right down to sex and shopping, whatever, if you're sitting with that right now and you decide to really, take that first step and go that something needs to change, and it's probably you. If you're willing to make that change, you will probably be, I would almost guarantee, be amazed at the life that's waiting for you.
So you've been sober since the 90s. And
27 years.
Do celebrities approach you all the time and say, how'd you do it? Because I imagine Hollywood is probably ripe with people that have drug and alcohol and sex addictions.
Hollywood is ripe with it. So is the airline industry. So is dentistry. So is everything. It's a one size fits all disease, and the thing is we get written about a little more than the. But there's no difference between a rock star shooting heroin. There's no real at its core. I don't think there's any real difference between a rock star shooting heroin and a bored housewife drinking Listerine so her husband won't know. The fact is that they're medicating feelings that they can't live with or don't think they can live with. It's a great escape. It's a great escape until it isn't. You escape into a dark, small closet and it's a soul destroyer, you know.
Well, I mean, like you said, though, you're lucky you've been able to survive it and have a great career after.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you know what?
Do
I
you
didn't
still
chase
struggle
any
with
of
it, though? Do you still struggle with it?
I didn't want to. You know what? Once I got the cravings out of my system, once I woke up instead of coming to, it was like, wow, this is interesting. There's a lot of life going by out there, and I don't think there's a job that I've done or a position that I've held where I went out looking for it. The phone rang, and the thing is that in an accepting position in life, if we become so focused on wanting one thing and we chase that one thing, we're in fact putting on blinders and cutting off our vision to the rest of the world around us. And that rest of the world around us, if we're especially in service. I wrote a book with Tracy Jackson, my friend, called Gratitude and Trust, which originally was called Recovery is Not Just for Addicts. But it's 6 affirmations of gratitude and trust, 6 affirmations that will change your life. The first one is something needs to change, and it's probably me. The second one is I don't know how to do this, but something inside me does. I will learn from my mistakes and not defend them. There's something in living our lives in service. The 6th affirmation is I will live my life in love and service, gratitude and trust. There's something about living your life in service that I know if my morning prayer is lead me where you need me. Big amigo, first of all, I say, surprise me, God. It's like, because, like today's my birthday. Yeah. We do this one day at a time. Today's my birthday. Every day's my birthday. Give me a big surprise, and there's usually a surprise there. But I follow it up with lead me where you need me. If I go someplace where I'm needed, where I'm not in the way, where I feel like I'm being of service, I relax. When I relax, I listen. When I listen, I learn. Sometimes the part of that learning process is going to be something that takes me into a place where I got a job, where I can do a job that rewards me as well as the people around me. What more do you want?
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I could just listen to you forever, Paul. I could just get life. You should have a show called Life Advice from Paul.
I am the Polly Llama. If you're online, go to at Polly Llama. I'm on my Twitter is I am Paul Williams. The letter I, the letter M, Paul Williams, and my Instagram is Polly Llama 2. So. Yeah.
Who's Polly Llama 1?
I don't know. There was, but it was gone. It was gone. Somebody took it.
One of your favorite moments in your career probably has to be Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson just was a great listener, and he laughed, and like his ego never kept him out of the moment. He was there, you're a great laugher, as well, Stacy. It's like you and Johnny have that in common.
Before,
you got that in common with Johnny. I did 48 Tonight shows. I remember 6 as well. So I say, that, but. He was just a gracious host. It was all about, to me, the elegance of kindness is like the foundation for being somebody that I want to be around, and he had that.
I think you had some of the wackiest Tonight Show appearances I've seen.
Oh my God. Well, the one where I went on and ate makeup from Battle for the Planet of the Apes and sang "Here's That Rainy Day," it was like. Carson asked me, he said, this is for a movie, right? And I said, no, this is 7 months of nothing but banana daiquiris. Oh, my God.
That must have been one of those you don't remember.
Yeah. I actually sort of remember that one.
Oh, blame that one on the costume, though.
Yeah, that's true. You can blame that one on Shtick. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's in the future? What do you have coming up for projects?
Well, I'm working on a musical based on the film Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo del Toro's amazing, dark adult fairy tale. I'm writing that with a guy named Guillermo del Toro is his script. I'm writing it with a guy named Gustavo Santaolalla, who's a brilliant Argentinian composer. Which for the stage, he won the Oscar for Brokeback Mountain, and he also scored Babel, and he won the Oscar 2 years in a row. He's got 2. I've only got 1. I'll be all right.
You have time though. You still got time.
But I'm working on that, and I was just reelected for a 5th 2-year term at ASCAP, the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, and that's pretty much a full-time job. 626,000 members, songwriters, composers, and publishers, and basically it's I spent a lot of time in D.C. trying to make sure that the antiquated laws that we are forced to operate under have been kind of screwed around, have been taken advantage of as a loophole in the world of streaming. We're just not properly compensated for our music, so a big part of my life is defending music creators, making sure that these kids that are coming up can make a living with their music like I did. Yeah. Somewhere while we're talking, there's a young lady on an electric keyboard writing a song. She's got headphones on so she doesn't wake the baby in the next room. Yeah. I don't know her name, but I know she's out there. I've been talking about her for, at this point, 8 years at ASCAP. And I know that when she writes something, and if it's really wonderfully honest and somebody connects with it and records it and it's a hit, wow, she deserves to make a living with it.
That's true. There would be no song if it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
Well, you have a show tonight. Everybody needs to come out to the North Dakota Heritage Center. You will be there tonight. Showtime is 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. It's the songs. It's the songs and it's the stories and a lot of very, very funny stuff about the pre-sober days and the journey and all. So it's a conversation and a batch of songs, and I'll be thrilled to have you show up. Every penny is going to Hope Manor to make sure that people have a place to live and learn and grow when they get sober. And thanks to Judith Roberts for that. Amazing. I think she's been. What are you doing over there?
She's just been Facebook Live.
Oh my God! Why I would have behaved a lot better if I knew. I would have shown you my face if I knew we were on TV.
And tickets are. That's right. You have a band this time.
I brought two guys with me. I brought Lothar Struff, who plays bass, and I brought three guys with me. Duh, it's early. Lothar Struff and Bob Terry, they play bass and guitar, and they sing background. Chris Caswell, who's played piano for me for 208 years, and sings as well. So you've got four voices on stage. And the sweet harmonies, and harmony is a great metaphor for my life these days. I'm living in a state of harmony with the world around me that never existed before. So it's kind of a sweet sound. It's soft rock, I guess. I'm a soft rock guy. I feel like a soft rock guy.
And tickets are $50, or there's special VIP tickets where they can actually meet you for $100.
Exactly. Yeah. Either way, and it's for a great cause. It's not worth $100 to meet me. I'll tell you that right now. It's about a $53 ticket. But because and some days it's only an $8 experience meeting me. But I will tell you this: that if you come and you show up, whether you spend $50 or $100, you may never know it, but you will very possibly help save a life. And that's, and I'm not overstating that. I'm talking about the fact that, when I needed to get sober, I had a place to go. It's the reason I'm here today. It's the reason my kids are healthy and well fed. And there's several fewer people in this world right now that the government has to take care of because they got sober. You can relieve not only your own personal life, but the life of the city you live in, the funding of the city you live in. You can help your state be more prosperous by having people on the streets working, not sleeping, on the streets working, paying taxes, making the drive to work a little safer for you.
True.
Especially that.
Yeah.
Unless they've just seen Baby Driver, and then because they'll be driving way too fast. End of pitch. Thank you.
And for tickets, call 516. What's the last? 2912. 516-2912, and you can get your tickets.
516-2912. If you find your life is on a shelf and you're wondering what to do better, follow these rules to the letter. Go down to the auditorium and give yourself some fun. When the day is done, you will see there's lots of people getting sober, and they're almost as charming as me. The best I could do off the top of my head.
That's really good.
Stacy had a thing for jingles, so that was perfect.
I made it up like I did all them other ones.
Well, thanks for coming in today,
Thanks,
Paul.
Stacy. I really appreciate it. Good luck with your writing. Keep writing. Stop saying you're trying to write. You're writing.